Good morning for 99.5 FM and AM 1340 WGRV. I'm Reed Seals, and I'm here for our monthly interview with Greene County Mayor Kevin Morrison. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Reed. How are you?
I'm doing good. First question, can you give me an update on the Frank Santori lawsuit against the commissioners?
Yes, the Mr. Santori filed a lawsuit as almost a supplemental to the lawsuit that was filed by the clerk and master, essentially alleging that we weren't doing our due diligence in handling and resolving the matter and persecuting, if you will, the clerk and master. And in very sort of colorful fashion, he filed this lawsuit. But after several months of negotiation and legal wrangling, Frank had approached the judge or the court to have it dismissed. And the other portion of that was decided on Monday evening was whether or not, for instance, the county was going to pursue the collection of legal fees that had incurred during that time period. So they were somewhat nominal in comparison to most lawsuits. So the county commission decided that it was just sort of best to just let it go. The clerk and master lawsuit, the appeal filed in Knoxville with the appeals court is over, and the lawsuit now with Mr. Santori has been decided by the commission to just let that go to bed as well.
And what was the inspiration behind naming the shooting ranges after fallen deputies?
Well, the Greene County, like any other location, has had the unfortunate, not a privilege, if you will, but unfortunate incident that we've lost deputies in the line of duty. One of those was Sergeant Rick Coyle a number of years ago, and the range down there was the road. Actually, the driveway for the range was named for Rick Coyle. And at one point in time, it was brought to my attention that they were planning on, for instance, maybe naming the range for Rick Coyle. That effort, for whatever reason, was either left and forgotten or whatever. But we resurrected that after the untimely tragic death of former Mayor Alan Broyles, in naming the administration building after him. The effort was revived to do something for the fallen deputies, Eddie Baskett and Rick Coyle. So the law enforcement range, or what we call the upper range, was designated or memorialized in his honor Monday night. Proud to do that. And then the lower range, or the pistol range, would be named in honor of Deputy Eddie Baskett. And Deputy Baskett was in the Walter State Community College Police Academy and was exercising one morning in the spring, as I understand, a number of years ago, and actually had a heart attack while he was exercising and died at the range. Unfortunately, but that is the nature of law enforcement. These guys know that every time that they put on their equipment and don their uniform, that there's a possibility that they may have to give the ultimate sacrifice for the citizens they serve. And the least we can do is to make sure we thank them and honor them, particularly when they fall in service to us. And so the commission was happy to do that. It passed unanimously, and we look forward to putting up some plaques with bios on them and pictures, so that they would be for posterity remembered down at a range, doing an activity that they had to do for their job.
What will the Chaplains Association do with the donated ambulance from EMS?
Well, it's my understanding, Chaplain Danny Ricker, and he does a great job for us for chaplain activities for law enforcement, all of our first responder organizations, and a number of other organizations around town. He's very supportive of law enforcement. But what they plan to do with the ambulance is to make sort of a divine rehab vehicle out of it, if you will, to make sure that they can take that to different scenes, to help provide food service, to provide counseling service, death notifications and different things like that, to help out the first responders and to help the public. And we think it was a wonderful idea. That ambulance, not in real bad shape, but it was operational, had sat for a number of years in the Depot Street EMS, old EMS headquarters, and we didn't need it anymore. The nominal price that we might have got out of it had we sold it on Gov Deals or something like that really wasn't worth that effort, and when we could donate it for a better cause and continue to get some use out of it. So we're happy to do that.
And now for the more controversial question. What are your thoughts on the current school consolidation plan?
Well, the commission was invited by the school department a week or so ago, and then Director McLean came to the county commission meeting on Monday and presented what the school board had studied, considered, and passed, the plan going forward on how to deliver education in Greene County. Essentially, I think what the commission needs now is time to digest and return with input on the plan presented to see if they can support the plan. I'm actually interested to see, based on what the school has in store over the course of the next few years, to see if the middle school arrangement that the school board has passed and supported and begin to implement will work, and how well it'll work. I think it needs an opportunity to work. That being said, going forward with the two high school plan that the school board has presented, I think if that is the direction and the course that the commission thinks that they can support, that we need to go as a county, given dropping student enrollment, BEP impact, and the like, then what we need to look at then is some type of realistic time frame to implement a construction plan, if that's the ultimate direction, and then a time frame and a plan to save dollars for this purpose. I think the commission is certainly supportive of having some type of arrangement or plan in place where we're saving money through the school construction plan or the school capital projects fund, so that in the future, at some point in time, we've actually got a nest egg to draw from, so that the complete full brunt or impact of a tax increase doesn't have to be put on the backs of the citizens. I've always thought that from my time in the military, it's always important to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, then that is a plan to fail. So we want a plan for success. That's not to say that the commission, that myself, is going to run right out and start implementing this new plan. I think they need time to digest it. I think there needs to be closer examination of the student losses and the financial impact or loss of the BEP, changes in BEP funding that Greene County is experiencing. So we're just getting started. This conversation is just getting started. No decisions have been made or anything such as that. So everybody, at least from the commission perspective, from my perspective, is looking at the plan that the school system has put together, has studied and put together and submitted to us, to give them feedback on what we think we might be able to support, not necessarily now, but in the future at some point in time, with a plan that we would implement on our own. Of course, during the election, a year or so ago, I wasn't necessarily for school consolidation, certainly not the construction of just one high school. I think Greene County is logistically too large for that. But that's a discussion that's already in the past. I'm not going to dig that up. But a number of people said they could support a two-school plan. But we also need to be educating and receiving input from the public. Perhaps in the future, and this is not anything that's been discussed, it might be something that would go on a ballot or something, but we're just getting started.
And the last question for today, what is the Greene County government doing to improve the working relationship with the town of Greeneville, and are there additional efforts going forward?
There are a number of efforts going forward. Reed, the Greene County and Greenville have what I consider a good relationship. We knew sort of going forward with a number of these projects, and I'll lay out a few of them, that we were going to have to look beyond sort of the here and the now to the future, once again implementing, if you will, a plan to address some of these big major issues that was going to require cooperation with the city, cooperation with entities of the city, cooperation with the municipalities around Greene County. The specific things that I can name for you that we're cooperating with the city's cooperating with us, and that's working very well, is the 911 funding deficit, the structure of the board. The city and the county both realize that we have to provide more funding in order to erase the deficit and get them back on a stable financial footing. Todd Smith, the city administrator, myself, have had numerous conversations over how to do that, how the board structure would look. That's sort of part and parcel to the central dispatch effort that's been going on for the last 5 years. I think Todd and I, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, Mayor Daniels, are committed to central dispatch for all of our first responders, the police, fire, and whatnot. A big shout out to Tim Ward, the chief of police, and Wesley Holt, working very well together. We've got city police department officers down there at 911 right now, but we know that we've got to put in more funding for that. We've tried to keep, or I have tried to keep, the city informed and talk to Todd on a routine basis, and we agree with what's being done down there. And I've solicited his input as to what he thinks we need to be doing going forward to implement that, and we've got along well. A solid waste contract, again, looking sort of beyond the here and now. We knew a few months ago that our solid waste contract, for us to be able to throw away our garbage in a landfill, was coming up for renegotiation. My hat's off to Brad Peters, the Director of Public Works, who has sort of taken the ball and run with it, organized and got the different bids in place. He's kept us informed. So that's something that's sort of city-led, but he's kept the county informed. That was, again, another place like 911 that we know that we're going to have to put in more revenue that's required to meet rising prices. One of the most recent things that has been great collaboration on that we're very proud of is an SRO at the Greene Technology Center. Officer Kevin Gwynn, hats off to him. I saw him yesterday, but that's a jointly funded venture down there, supported once again by the Chief of Police, Tim Ward, the police department. I'm sure the Board of Mayor and Aldermen is all for it. Director Steve Starnes and David McLean have got along great in getting an SRO in the last building that we have kids at that are attending school with an SRO. We've had some Greenville airport issues. Greenville has approached me on a couple of occasions about some issues out there with regard to approach and different things, that not necessarily because the Greene County is sort of no longer a partner in the airport. If you remember a few years ago, we bowed out of the agreement with the airport, but there's some issues that have recently come up out there with regard to approach and different things that I was asked by this town the town administrator, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to support, because it affected residents in and around the airport in the county. And I'm happy to do that because I support the airport. I think that is the front door to Greenville's business and industry here. The ongoing Church Street Bridge replacement, the water line replacement down there. Hats off to EMA, interim EMA director, and Public Works and the Greenville Water Commission for their cooperation. We put a plan in place in case of an emergency. We knew that was going to be a very delicate operation. We've had a few growing pains and hiccups even since then. The big thing or big issue that we cooperated on was to make sure that because that was such a delicate operation, that anything that would happen in the course of replacement or construction on that project would leave the town and the county without fire suppression water. So cooperating with the Forest Service, I was asked to consider a burn permit suspension, which we did. We were kept informed all along the way. EMA, the Greenville Water Commission, Public Works, and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, again, cooperating to make sure that the citizens we serve are served well and adequately. We've got some issues that we're collaborating on with Green Valley property. We've made several trips to Nashville to consult with the governor, the commissioner on economic development, the general services commissioner. We've met with our state representatives and things, but those trips involved myself, Greenville Mayor W.T. Daniels, Todd Smith, the city administrator, Alan Corley, the mayor of Tusculum, myself, and obviously we've got to come to an agreement to make the property, to repurpose and refit the property, if you will, at Green Valley requires zoning changes, perhaps a request for taxing changes if we're able to realize some of the ideas that have been put forth for that property. There's obviously funding considerations, and some of the biggest issues involve the cooperation of Greenville for water and sewer at that location, for it to be sort of a viable place that for development in the future. But we continue to look for, and those are 5, 6, or 7 things there, but we continue to look for opportunities to cooperate to make us all a success. We've had a number of industry visits that have gone very well. You can obviously tell around the area with the expansion of retail and some of our industry that we're sort of looking beyond any type of frustration or consternation, cooperating where we can, and we'll continue to look for areas of cooperation.
Well, I want to thank Greene County Mayor Kevin Morrison for joining us today. And this is AM 1340, 99.5 FM, WGRV, and I'm Reed Seals.